Imagine having so much money and just unchecked, undeniable fame that you decide to write a movie.
Right.
And in this movie, you fight mobsters, you escape these spear-toting cannibals, and, seduce politicians' wives.
Naturally.
Yeah, all while delivering nonstop, straight-to-camera one-liners.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a scenario where logic takes a backseat and physics are, well, entirely optional.
Oh, absolutely. It's like every single person on Earth exists merely as a prop for your amusement.
Yes.
It is the ultimate fantasy of invincibility. I mean, when you reach a certain level of megastardom, the boundary between the real world and your own personal mythology, it just starts to dissolve completely.
It really does. So welcome to our deep dive into an absolute time capsule of 1980s pop culture.
The very strange time capsule.
Very strange. Our source material today is something truly legendary that, get this, never actually saw the light of day.
Which is a tragedy, honestly.
Right. We're looking at an unproduced, 120-page final draft screenplay from 1985. It's titled Crazy from the Heat.
Such a great title.
And it was written by none other than David Lee Roth, the flamboyant, high-kicking frontman of Van Halen.
Diamond Dave himself.
Exactly. So our mission for you today is to explore this bizarre, cartoonish vanity project. We want to extract what it reveals about celebrity ego, the grinding machinery of the 1980s music industry, and just the pure, unchecked absurdity of a rock star operating at the absolute zenith of his career.
Yeah, we're stripping away the neon and the spandex to look at the engine underneath.
For sure.
Because this script, it serves as a remarkable primary document. It shows us exactly how a rock god viewed his own industry, his entourage, and, well, his place in the universe during an era of just unprecedented excess.
Okay, let's unpack this. I want to start by looking at the antagonist of this story, because it sets up the central conflict that drives all the chaos in the script.
Right, the classic artist versus management struggle.
Exactly. We have Dave's desire for pure, unadulterated freedom clashing violently against this cynical, exploitative music industry.
Yeah.
And that industry is personified by a character named Bernie Colin, who is Dave's manager.
Oh, Bonnie.
The imagery here is incredibly vivid. We first meet Bernie at his sprawling Mulholland Drive mansion, and he is parading around in a white satin smoking jacket.
Of course he is.
Yeah, white satin smoking jacket, black silk lounging shorts, and those ridiculous Italian designer slippers without the heels.
The quintessential 80s sleazebag uniform.
Totally. And he's screaming into the phone, loudly claiming that he personally built David Lee Roth.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, that tells us everything about the power dynamic Bernie believes he holds.
Right.
Because managers in the 1980s music scene, they often wielded absolute dictatorial control over their artists. I mean, they controlled the touring schedules, the merchandise, the distribution, everything.
Yeah, and meanwhile, you have his girlfriend, Nikki, who's described as this washed-up Vegas showgirl lounging by the pool. Mm-hmm. And she complains to Bernie that the diamond he bought her last week was fake. And she drops this incredibly bitter line. She says, yeah, but it was fake, just like my orgasms.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's just a relentlessly bleak transactional environment.
It perfectly illustrates the world Dave is trying to escape. I mean, Bernie's entire life is built on illusions and transactions.
Exactly.
And that becomes his Achilles heel because he is in massive debt to two brutal mobsters, Benzedrini and Jerry.
Oh, man, these mobsters are terrifying. Like, to prove they aren't messing around, Jerry literally twists the heavy stone head off a cherubic fountain statue in Bernie's yard.
Just with his bare hands.
With his bare hands. And Bernie's only defense, like his only literal asset to save his own life, is David Lee Roth.
Right, the golden goose.
Right. So he plans to work Dave to the bone to pay off his gambling debts. And I read this and instantly thought of Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis Presley's man.
Oh, that is a perfect analogy.
Right. Parker famously took 50% of Elvis's earnings and essentially trapped him in that grueling cycle of Las Vegas residencies.
Because Parker himself had catastrophic gambling debts to the casinos.
Exactly. So is Dave oblivious to this exploitation, or is his chaotic vacation a deliberate way of blowing up Bernie's control?
Well, that is the precise mechanism of control at play here. The mobsters even suggest to Bernie that they should book Dave to do 5 Vegas shows a day.
5 shows a day?
Yes. They actually compare him to Suzanne Summers.
Oh, my God.
Think about what that means for a wild, heavy metal frontman. I mean, doing 5 lounge shows a day isn't just exhausting. It is the ultimate artistic death.
It totally transforms a dangerous rock star into a tame, predictable commodity.
Exactly. They are trying to put a price tag on a hurricane.
Which makes Dave's entrance in the script so fascinating. Dave arrives at Bernie's mansion for a party, but get this, he is wheeled in on a refrigerator dolly by his massive sweaty bodyguard, Ed.
Just a totally normal entrance.
Right. And he casually announces he's taking a vacation immediately. He grabs a globe, announces to the party that they're going wherever it hits, and just chucks it across the room.
And where does it land?
It flies toward a life-size African fertility statue and literally impales on the statue's giant wooden erection.
You cannot make this stuff up.
And Ed, the bodyguard, he checks the point of penetration and just deadpans the Dongo Islands.
Ah, a completely arbitrary destination decided by chaotic chance.
But here's my question. Is Dave a calculated mastermind blowing up Bernie's control? Or is he just a lucky narcissist? Because throwing a globe at a statue doesn't exactly scream tactical genius.
Well, you have to look at the result rather than the method. In Dave's world, chaos is his strategy.
Okay, right.
By making decisions that are impossible to predict, he makes himself impossible to manage. I mean, if Bernie can't predict where Dave will be tomorrow, Bernie can't sell Dave's future to the mob.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, the sheer randomness is the weapon he uses to break the chains of commodification.
Okay, think about your own workplace for a second. Imagine your boss literally trying to sell a third of your future salary to a loan shark.
This sounds awful.
And your response is just to throw a dart at a map and walk out the door. It is the ultimate power move.
It really is.
And this brings us to what happens when Dave and his bizarre entourage actually leave Los Angeles. Because surviving an industry that treats you like a product is one thing, right?
Right.
But the script then tests what happens when you drop that same rock star into a primitive environment where his contracts mean absolutely nothing.
What's fascinating here is how the transition to the Dongo Islands highlights how Dave's crew brings all their baggage, both literal and metaphorical, into the wild.
Oh, the packing montage alone is absurd. Like Julius, the slick road manager, is testing emergency flares inside an army surplus store.
Inside the store?
Inside. And Pete, who is Dave's street smart buddy, he packs a suitcase entirely filled with Pink's hot dogs.
Just hot dogs.
Yeah, fully cooked hot dogs, because he claims he is, quote, in training. And then there's Stu. Stu is Dave's personal gopher. He's frail, he's timid, and the script just makes him the perpetual punching bag.
Yeah.
They force him to carry this impossibly massive ghetto blaster on his back everywhere they go.
Well, Stu's treatment reveals a lot about the underlying hierarchy of the era's culture.
How so?
When they arrive at the Dongo Islands customs, we see this hierarchy in action. The customs officials are sadistic, and they're wielding riding crops.
Oh yeah, they completely ignore Julius, who is literally dropping glass vials of drugs all over the floor.
Right, because the guards are entirely hypnotized by his wife Darla's chest.
But they zero in on poor Stu. They give him a terrifying rubber-gloved strip search for absolutely no reason other than the fact that he just looks weak.
The rule of this universe is stark. The cool, the beautiful, and the famous glide through life effortlessly, and the weak are relentlessly punished. Status is a tangible shield.
Okay, I need you to explain this next part to me because I got completely lost when they hit the jungle.
Okay, lay it on me.
So they decide to rent jeeps instead of taking the bus. They immediately crash into a wall of palm trees in the rainforest and are suddenly surrounded by fierce, spear-toting cannibals.
Naturally.
Right. They're tied to stakes, the drums are beating.
Yeah.
Out comes this massive, terrifying female chief of the cannibals on a throne decorated with human skulls.
Sounds pretty bleak.
It does, but then she walks up to Dave. Her mean face melts into a huge grin and she yells, "Diamond Dave."
Yeah.
And they aren't eaten.
Right.
Wait, so Dave's fame is literally a superpower that saves him from being eaten. It feels like we're watching an R-rated Looney Tunes cartoon where Dave is Bugs Bunny and everyone else is just a prop.
Yeah, well, that's exactly how it works within the logic of the story. Fame is treated as a reality-altering force.
Okay.
The chief takes him to her mud hut, shifts a woven shade, and reveals a state-of-the-art Sony portable television set with a remote control.
In a mud hut.
Yes, she catches him all the time on cable. Roth is essentially proposing that his celebrity transcends language, culture, and even life-or-death situations. Fame doesn't just get you to the front of the line at a nightclub. In Dave's world, it literally alters the fundamental laws of nature to ensure your survival.
It really is like watching a cartoon. Dave glides through danger, because his status as a rock star makes him bulletproof.
Exactly.
But look at the contrast with Stu. The chief saves Dave, but she demands a sacrifice. She points at Stu, calls him her Jewish luggage boy, and drags him into her hut for a night of absolute terrifying horror.
All while Dave and Pete just sit on the beach casually drinking her booze.
Right.
Dave's chaos brings salvation for himself, but absolute doom for anyone who isn't on his level of cool. It's a very dark, crude underbelly to the era's humor, a very Darwinian view of social status.
So what does this all mean? Because surviving the jungle is easy for a rock star since the jungle is fundamentally wild.
Right.
But the real test of Dave's philosophy is what happens when you put him in a rigid, high society environment.
Yes, the script aggressively shifts gears here.
It really does. The entourage is rescued from the beach the next morning by Madame Duguay, the wife of the island's president, and her niece, Monique. They just roll up on jet skis.
Yes, one does.
And Madame Duguay casually strips completely naked on the beach, forcing Dave to hand her clothes to a stunned Pete.
And this happens just as her husband, President Duguay, arrives on the scene.
Yes. The president is this old man in a heavily decorated military uniform, but he is entirely senile.
Right.
He doesn't even notice his naked wife or the stranger standing on his beach because he's too busy complaining that someone left the cap off his toothpaste and now there's, quote, crust on the nozzle.
Crust on the nozzle.
Such a bizarre, specific detail.
But that detail serves a distinct mechanism in the narrative. By fixating on mundane, embarrassing hygiene issues, the script instantly strips the most powerful man on the island of his dignity.
Oh, I see.
Dave tears down authority figures by highlighting their absurdity.
And it sets the stage for a dinner at the presidential palace that is just a riot of inappropriate behavior. You've got Dave's entourage sitting at this massive formal mahogany table. Ed and Pete are loudly farting at the table.
Charming.
Julius is polishing and stealing a silver soup spoon to take home. And Darla is wearing a top made entirely of gold plastic clamshells with a headband of flashing battery-powered neon lights.
It is a complete invasion of Los Angeles sleaze into the sacred halls of international power.
And while his crew causes a distraction, Dave is seducing the innocent niece, Monique, out on the docks.
With a ridiculous lie.
Right.
Completely absurd. He points at distant boat lights on the horizon and claims they aren't boats at all, but deadly motorcycle sharks that are going to come ashore and make people disappear.
Motorcycle shark.
And she completely buys it. She leans in, totally mesmerized with the danger.
Unbelievable.
But here is where the narrative makes a sharp turn. After leaving the palace, they take the president's dilapidated airplane, flown by this depraved pilot, who puts the plane on autopilot using a piece of wire so he could read a brochure for an LA bondage queen named Mistress Mindy.
A detail that pays off later.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
So the pilot drops them at the Dongo Inn, which Dave describes as looking like the motel where Norman Bates killed his mother.
Quite the downgrade.
Exactly. It's run by a greasy proprietor named Jose. The rooms have holes instead of doors, and the beach outside is a garbage dump guarded by a bum who enforces littering with a life sentence.
Wow.
By the massive downgrade. They go from a presidential palace to a literal dump. What's the point of moving the plot there?
Well, this raises an important question. Does Dave respect anyone in this script?
I mean, it doesn't seem like it.
Right, because Dave is an equal opportunity disruptor. He doesn't desire the comfort of the elite. He desires control over his environment.
Okay, that makes sense.
He treats the senile president, the sleazy hotel owner Jose, the cannibals, and even his own loyal entourage with the exact same level of detached amusement. The downgrade isn't a punishment. It's a blank canvas for him to build his own world.
Which brings us to the grand finale. All these disparate threads. The mobsters, Bernie the sleazy manager, and Dave's desire to throw the ultimate party, they finally collide at this rundown motel.
The showdown.
The mobsters, Jerry and Benzedrini, track Dave down. They corner him in the hotel laundry room. But get this, they aren't angry that he ran away.
No.
They're furious because they saw him performing at a local club, and he was singing the classic Sinatra song, That's Life. But he was doing it too fast and changing the lyrics.
This is the core thesis of the entire screenplay right here.
Really?
Yes. The mobsters are deeply offended by his artistic interpretation. They represent the ultimate squares trying to put a wild artist in a box.
It's like trying to put a governor on a Ferrari engine so it only goes 35 miles an hour. The whole point of the machine is that it's dangerous.
Exactly. They want to force a wild artist to create a predictable, controllable product.
And they literally tell him to sing the song right. They threaten him, telling him they're his new managers, they're going to cut his hair, and They're going to make him sing at the right speed.
And Dave's reaction.
Oh, Dave just snaps. The physical fight that follows is a literal manifestation of rejecting industry constraints. He turns into a full-blown martial arts action hero.
Of course.
He flits the giant mobster Jerry across the room. He grabs Benzedrini, shoves his head deep into an industrial washing machine, pours in a box of suds, and turns it on.
It's ridiculous, but he violently destroys the men who tried to put him in a box. Dave's victory is the triumph of the untamable artist over the suits.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Dave doesn't just win a fight, he orchestrates everyone's destiny. Because while Dave handles the mobsters directly, Bernie experiences his own catastrophic downfall back in Los Angeles.
Proving that Dave's influence extends far beyond his physical location.
Right, so Bernie thinks he successfully seduced this gorgeous woman, Miss Mulholland, into his mansion. He's bragging, pouring drinks, trying to act like a titan of industry.
Setting himself up for a fall.
Huge fall.
Yeah.
She goes into the bathroom to slip into something more comfortable, and we get the payoff to the pilot's brochure from earlier.
Yes.
She emerges in terrifying dominatrix metal and black leather. She announces herself as Mistress Mindy, grabs Bernie violently, and delivers the ultimate proxy death blow. She just says, "This is from Dave."
Bernie is dismantled by the very transactional nature of the world he built. And with his enemies defeated, Dave can finally execute his ultimate vision.
And he throws the ultimate party using stolen goods. He uses a local radio ad to invite the whole island to the seedy Dongo Inn. He transforms this garbage dump into the hottest club in the world simply by showing up.
The power of the front man.
Totally. And he performs an epic musical number using props, a giant neon flamingo, a massive oyster shell that his crew blatantly stole from the ritzy resorts that kicked them out earlier. He is the master of his own universe.
But before the big show, the script takes a second to aggressively wink at the audience about its own absurdity.
Oh yeah, the meta joke.
Yeah.
Darla, the wife, with the flashing clamshell outfit, she marches up to Dave. She complains that she's been in the movie for an hour and 10 minutes without a single line of dialogue.
So what does her husband Julius do to solve this narrative injustice?
He pours out a massive, literal line of cocaine on a table. She snorts the entire thing, thanks Dave, and walks off satisfied.
The script shatters the fourth wall. Roth is acknowledging that none of this is meant to be taken seriously as a piece of cinema. It is purely a vehicle for his larger-than-life persona.
And that persona gets the perfect mythical send-off. After the massive party, the gang is at the airport boarding a 747 to leave the island. A groupie runs up to Dave right before he gets on the plane and asks for his phone number so she can call him when he gets back to Los Angeles.
Then what does he say?
He tells her the numbers are a little different in the States. He just looks at her, smiles, and says, 8.
He doesn't give a 7-digit phone number, just 8.
You just dial 8 on your rotary phone, and you instantly connect to David Lee Roth.
It signifies the ultimate collapse of the boundary between the mortal world and Mount Olympus. He has become a god of his own universe.
You know, when you step back and look at what the script represents, you realize you don't have to be a Van Halen fan to appreciate its historical value.
Not at all. It is a 100-proof time capsule of 1980s megastardom.
It shows us an era where celebrities felt so insulated from reality by their wealth and adulation that they believed they could write, star in, and direct their own surreal reality, entirely free from logic or consequences.
They really believed the world was just a stage set built entirely to facilitate their impulses.
Now, Crazy from the Heat was never actually filmed. The studio pulled the plug at the absolute last minute, right before production was supposed to start.
Which is wild to think about.
But consider this. If this movie had actually been made, exactly as written on these 120 pages, would it have cemented David Lee Roth as a multimedia comedic genius ahead of his time? Or would it have been such an overwhelming, incomprehensible, self-indulgent disaster that it instantly ruined his entire career?
The line between a visionary masterpiece and a catastrophic vanity project is incredibly thin, especially when you remove all the guardrails.
It really is. Sometimes the greatest legends in pop culture are the ones that only exist on the page. Because in our minds, that wild, neon-soaked mansion of a movie never has to face a critic. It just gets to stay impossible, defiant, and perfectly crazy forever.